So this is a sample invoice behind Ameren. So you will see here on the invoice, there is electric delivery. This is the charges from Ameren. This is how the Ameren, the utility, makes their money. Ameren or ComEd here in the state of Illinois does not make money off the commodity charges. They only make money off of the delivery portion of the bill. They will not treat you any differently if you choose an alternative supplier. So on the next, in the middle paragraph there, it says electric supply, BGS1 basic generation. This is where you would see if you're buying your power from Ameren or if you're currently buying it from an alternative supplier. And then taxes and other fees, this applies to everybody. This is also charged by the utility. Next slide. So up on the top, as I outlined here on this last screen, is a shot of the electric supply portion of the invoice. So this is what a customer, whether you're a residential or a business owner, this is the portion of your electric that you can control. You really can't control your utility charges, delivery charges. So in this part of the bill, if you are with Ameren to figure out what you're paying, you would take your all-in commodity charge. So you would take the total dollar amount there where it says electric supply and divide it by the number of total kilowatt hours that month. And then that's how you would calculate how much you are paying per kilowatt hour for the electric commodity portion of your bill. If you're with an alternative supplier, you would see actually a name underneath the electric supply like Homefield Energy or Constellation, Champion Energy, many different suppliers, but that's where you would see where your actual supplier name would be. And then usually with suppliers, they would have your total kilowatt hours used times the fixed rate that you're currently contracted at. Now, that's not saying that it might be different a little bit, but usually, especially if you're a residential customer, this is where you would see the alternative supplier name along with your fixed price per kilowatt hour. One thing also to note is usually if there is an alternative supplier, their phone number is usually there also for contact information if you have some questions on how that fixed price and stuff is. It is also possible, like I say, that if you are with Ameren, that you might be missing part of this invoice. So for example, like commercial accounts, you would see the delivery and the taxes, but you might not see the electric supply portion from Ameren. So on this scenario, if you're a commercial customer, you would be also receiving a supply commodity bill from Homefield Energy, Constellation, whoever the alternative supplier is for the commodity, and Ameren's billing you for the utility and taxes. But it is also possible that you could be getting a combined electric invoice that would show from your alternative supplier that would have both the commodity as well as the delivery charges and taxes from Ameren. Next slide. So, I try to keep this very simple for customers, whether you're residential or businesses. What are your options? So what you need to do is get a copy of your electric invoice from Ameren or your alternative supplier. If you are with an alternative supplier, find out what the terms of your current contract is. This is something I find very interesting when I go see my commercial customers, of how many customers actually don't have copies of the contracts, whether it was changeover from an employee that has left to whatever reason, or they never got a copy of the executed contract back from the supplier. But I find this a lot where they actually don't have copies of the contract. When you can call your supplier and they have to provide that to you. Usually I try to tell customers, say I'm giving you 24 to 48 hours to get the copy of the contracts to me, and they should be able to email in a PDF over to you with that information. So provide the Morton Chamber of Commerce a copy of your most current invoice, also with the terms of your current contract if you are with an alternative supplier. My company will review your information and will get back to you with a proposal based on your specific needs for your business. If you are a residential customer, it's a little bit different. If you have questions, I recommend going to the following link, which is plugintoillinois.com/offers, as you see here into this outline. This will actually show you what the actual current bundled rate for residential customers is, which currently right now behind Ameren is 0.04707 for the first 800 kilowatt hours, and anything over 800 kilowatt hours, it is at 0.04468. I know that different municipal aggregations out there have different pricings. I know some of them are higher than the current prices. However, I've also just seen recently that some towns and villages have gotten some lower pricing. So it is very well possible to see new rates coming from the municipal aggregations with lower rates. I just don't know all that information on that. Currently, I mean, I live behind Corn Belt Energy, which is a cooperative here in Illinois. I pay about 12 to 13 cents a kilowatt hour, so I'd love to even pay, you know, Ameren's rates. But behind a cooperative, we have no options behind a cooperative. So, you know, I'm kind of envious of people actually paying that price. So, but, you know, bottom line, you know, like I say, there are options out there, especially with the market so low. Residential customers, whether you're part of a municipal aggregation or buying your power directly from Ameren, there are different ways to purchase it. There's also ways for residentials to go on hourly pricing, which I have seen work very successful for many customers that are residential customers. Instead of doing Ameren's bundled rate, you can do an hourly rate with Ameren. So that's another option you can look into. With that, once we get to the Q&A session of this meeting, I will be able to answer any questions you might have on the electric moving forward, whether it be for your residential, for your small business, or your large commercial needs. I appreciate everybody's time.
On that note specifically, at our office, at the Chamber EDC office, we were under the Village Home Field Aggregation Program. And just so you know, residential or commercial, there's no cost to get out of that aggregation. So it is a simple process. And then we worked with Chris to capture our new rates and lock those in for a couple years. Very simple process and no cost to get out of the home field, which I would say most people in Morton, especially the residential side, took advantage of that home field aggregation several plus years ago. And just want to reiterate that it was an easy process and there was no cost issued by home field to exit out of that aggregation. And then you do have a time period if you want to step by step. You can call home field and cancel that aggregation, and then you have a time period, a couple months to make any decisions. So don't feel rushed to walk through all the pieces of the puzzle. You can move through in steps, and especially on the commercial side, working with Chris, the easy, great process, and we're saving dollars. So with that, I know Craig Loudermilk with the Village was planning on joining in. I've not seen him pop in yet, so maybe we could just move into any questions or comments from anybody. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask away.
I'm residential, and I've been with Home Field. The letter came around. just recently, Amerin put me on their per use rate. It's not the bundle, but they sent me an alert, wanted to cut back and get a lower rate. I'm not real sure. I was told as an individual, it's better to stay with Homefield through the buying power of the village. Is that still true?
So currently, if I remember right, the village's municipal aggregation price is like 056, I do believe currently. Right now, like I say, the price is actually a little high compared to what the Ameren rates are personally. Again, this is, customer preference on what they want to do. So the way it works with municipal aggregation, you have a opt-out period only. You're automatically opted in if you don't get back to them within like 10 business days, I think, of once receiving your information. So you're automatically opted in, but you can, like I say, get out of it. I can say that, like I say, I have seen some other villages and towns around the surrounding areas that their contracts are coming up that have gotten some lower prices in the low to mid 4-cent range. As Leanne was saying, if you go back to the utility, your options are either directly bundled or with the hourly rate. So I'm not a little certain what kind of program you might be on, but you also would only have two months to make a decision. Otherwise, you have to stay with the utility for a period of 10 more months for a total of 12 months if you go back to the utility.
Okay, so there is a time limit more on the residential. Okay.
Correct. Residential as well as small business, which is anything under 15,000 kilowatt hours annually, has a time limit to be able to pick an alternative supplier. Everything else is deemed competitive and you can go back and forth, but anything residential and anything under 15,000 kilowatt hours annually, small business, you have a time limit.
Any other questions or comments? Help anybody? Anybody have their Ameren bill? Any questions on that? Tom's prepared. Way to go, Tom. Well, I'm not, yeah, go ahead, Tom.
So if we wanted to get out of the home field aggregation, what do we do?
So yeah, you would call the home field number on your invoice and say, I want to go back to the utility, and on the next billing cycle, they would switch you back to the utility. And then, like I say, you would go back to the utility's bundled rate, or eventually you could also choose the hourly rate. And depending upon how much kilowatt hours and stuff you use, I've actually seen it work very well for many customers that have chosen the residential just hourly rate. It will fluctuate. I mean, it's not a fixed price that will, it'll change every month. But I have seen customers save a lot more money on that type of program. But like I say, you will have 2 months to choose another alternative supplier. Otherwise, you will be stuck with the utility for another 10 months for a total of 12 months.
Okay, so if I call Homefield, I will go back. They'll put me back on Ameren.
Correct.
And then if I want to stay with Ameren, then I don't have to do anything.
You don't have to do anything. Correct.
I have 2 months if I want to change to another third party.
Correct. As soon as you're back with Ameren, you have a period of two months to be able to pick another supplier. Otherwise, if you want to pick somebody after 2 months, you have to stay for 10 more months with the utility.
All right.
And one thing to note is that the prices behind Ameren as well as ComEd here in the state of Illinois, they change every June through May. Yeah. So the new bundled rates will be coming out from Ameren and ComEd here shortly of what those are going to be. At this point, I have not seen those come through. I know there will be a discussion with Ameren later today. If you go back to that meeting, they might be able to answer some questions on when the new bundled rates will be provided. I anticipate the new bundled rates will be lower than what this previous.
They are now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on my home. It would save me. I just had one here. The last bill, I think it saved me $6 by the bundled rate. But I don't know. I'm here on behalf of our church, and I'm just wondering, you know, what we probably use more power in the church than what I do at home.
Yeah. So I know that churches are commercial, and I know me as well as my father with Lands Energy work with a lot of businesses and some churches over there. So there are some churches that I know of that over there that are already having lower rates than what, you know, most people are seeing otherwise. Because like I say, they're classified as a medium to larger based business.
Right.
Yeah.
So what would be the thing the church would do? Call home field and go back to the bundled rate initially and
So
do that, or?
it depends upon what the supplier, what that church is doing. If they're already with an alternative supplier, things might already be in place where they're already getting lower rates. I just don't know, like I say, which church, and I don't know if we're serving one of those or somebody else is serving one of those, but there's a good chance that they could be having already, you know, lower rates. But like I say, I'm not for sure.
I don't have a bill with me. I've got to get. We have to get somebody to go in and get the bill and look at it, and
that's something if you would provide to Leanne, I'll be more than happy to review for you to see what they're currently doing, and I can come back to you and say this is what I'm seeing on this bill.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sounds fair enough.
Tom, my email is in the chat. If you
Yeah.
do you see the chat box?
I saw it, but it went away. L.A. Brown at mortonchamber.org,
Yeah.
I think it's what it is. Yeah.
At mortonillinois.org. Yeah.
Morton,
So,
Illinois. Yeah.
yep. Feel free to send that over to me, and I'll get it over to Chris.
All right. I'll have to go get it because the secretary's working basically as needed right now because
Sure.
building. So.
Yeah, we're all operating differently, learning our new norm, right?
Yeah, it's getting old. It's been a long month.
You got that right.
Yes, it has. Well, great. Well, we're gonna wrap up here with Craig Loudermilk has joined us with the village share. We have we're fortunate, in my opinion, to have our local utility. I know from a business standpoint, having local service, local rates is advantageous. So we just want to give a few moments for Craig to share any updates and wrap up with our village gas service. So thanks for joining, Craig.
Thanks, Leanne. Can you hear me?
We can. You're all good.
Yep, can
I
hear.
got a little echo on my side, but I'll do my best here. I apologize for being late I was in the middle of some a pre-bid meeting. So I'm not sure what happened here before. I assume there's some Ameren people on the call too, right?
Not Ameren. We shifted this one. Chris went through Twin City Energies, and we were talking about Ameren bills and kind of next steps in converting over.
Sure. Okay. Well, like I said, I wasn't in the previous, so I'm not sure what was all discussed, but you had asked me just to give an overview of gas. So just first, for those that don't know, Morton's got one of the largest, if not the largest municipal gas company in Illinois by meter count. We're a little over 6,000 customers. It's a unique thing in Illinois. Obviously, there's more of them, but the goal with ours is to keep the money in the community. And I think when you drive through Morton, you can probably tell. I don't mean that in a pat myself on the back, but that money is those profits are used, like I said, back in the community as part of franchise being ourselves like a utility company. So Our goal is always to keep the rates as low as we can. Selfishly, we like to keep them lower than Ameren if we can. So I'm always open if people have questions or they got a bill or want to compare. That is one of our goals. So we buy gas right now through utility gas management. So right now we try to get the lowest rate. Obviously, we're seeing potential gas prices going up end of the year. We had something on our agenda the other night to hedge with utility gas management in the January to April, 21, assuming that gas is going to go up then. So anyway, like I said, we're a very small gas company. We're just Morton. There are some pocket areas here in Morton of Ameren too. We consider them, or I do consider them, a partner. Even on the gas side, they're very easy to talk to if we have issues, stuff like that. But we've got 4 guys in our gas company right now and 4 guys in the water. So pretty much we operate on an 8-man crew that keeps up the water distribution and gas distribution in Morton. As far as where we get the gas from, we get the gas from Panhandle Eastern Pipeline west of town. And that comes in right along Ameren. So we kind of have a connection point there right close to Ameren. And then it comes a little over 5 miles into our town, one way in. So some of our concerns long-term, obviously one way in, if something happens along that pipeline or 8-inch feeder line coming into town, obviously those are some of our concerns. Being a municipal, I think sometimes the government thinks it's a little easier for the big guys to run a gas company, but we're very proud of what we have here. We think we're second to none, and I think Ameren would share that. So that's a little bit about, I'd be glad to answer any questions. That's a little bit about what we are here. The rate on top of our rates as far as profits been the same. Gosh, I've been here 8.5 years, so I think about 10 years we have not raised rates there. But our rates do fluctuate every month with the price of gas. So unlike Ameren, where they may flatline through the tougher months, our citizens may notice that more because they're basically paying, based on the rate of the gas. We're not locked in right now. We really haven't been for quite some time. So with gas rates continue to be low. So we are a little more cyclical, with the gas prices. So, but with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
And I also put in the chat box the Village, their website has great information on their utility services, a great utility brochure, contact information, billing information. So feel free to check those out. There are also links in the chat box for quick access. Any questions for Craig? Not, I think we were able to move through what we wanted to. We did record most of this session so we can share. We're going to be sharing Chris's slides, the Village Gas information out there to make sure businesses know where they can turn to for options and make sure that they are getting the best rates and know where to turn to for their service needs and questions. So Chris, thanks again for tuning in and sharing those updates and helping people walk through their next steps. And we'll keep looking at opportunities to share with our businesses to get them informed. And thanks for our guests for tuning in.
Thanks for everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. That was interesting.
I'm glad you could join in. All right, everyone. Stay safe out there, and we'll stay in touch via email, give us a call, or check out our website for any other information regarding the pandemic resources and community information. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
You.
Bye.